and the thing.
Yeah, it's got to be my clean my glasses or something.
Oh, okay. Well, Tim had a dream here that he was a little concerned about, but I'll tell you something. This is a very typical dream. I mean, I have dreams
Oh,
like
is it?
yes, all the time. Okay. Do you want to just introduce it, Tim, and then we'll.
Yeah. Um, this is kind of weird. I mean, uh, you'll see what happens here, but I just was so alarmed by it. I'll go ahead and read it here. I'm calling it Entering Without Breaking. I seem to be in a town which must be very friendly, although it's not my own town. Apparently, night after night, I have been wandering around in the middle of the night through the town and simply entering people's houses and walking through as if taking a shortcut through their house. Sometimes I stand outside to listen to conversations or to TV shows that are going on inside. I keep being astonished at my behavior and wondering why the hell I am taking such risks. And then at one point, I'm wandering through somebody's house and a dog comes up and licks my hand, and I realize how close I am to raising the whole house. But again, I escape without incident. After leaving one house at dawn, I'm walking away along a road, and the occupants come outside and are talking loudly to the neighbors. I'm sure they're talking about me. I try to cut back toward the town through a field, but it's very muddy, and I realize I have to go back the same way by the house again. I'm simply astonished at my behavior.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now, the uh, the 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 um, the fact that you're an intruder, okay, in all these places, this is a very typical dream, okay. And I think if I want to hear what Roy and Charles has to say about it, and Dawn too. Hi, Dawn. Dawn, we put it in the chat. If you can't see it, I'll put it in again. But it's Tim's dream. And anyway, okay, let's just start out with the beginning. I seem to be in a town which must be very friendly, although it's not my own. So it is a place unknown to ego. It's not my own, okay? But it seems to be very amenable to us, you know. There's no it's a place where we feel um not unwelcome, and but yet it's foreign to ego. Okay. Now, night after night, I have been wandering around the town and simply entering people's houses and walking through as if taking a shortcut through their house. Okay. We are an intruder, okay, in these houses that are not our own. So we're in this place where usually it's a house that's not our own. Here it's a city that's not our own. And we are an intruder there when we go from the outside of the cities into the inner sanctums of the city that are not ours. And so we're not asking permission to be there. We're there. And we do this night after night. Okay, so remember when you went to the play at midnight for the rehearsal? There's something about the night where it's closer to nature, closer to the depths, at least farther away from ego. Okay. So, and when the ego is closer, away, farther away from the unconscious or from the conscious attitude, and closer to the realm of the inner world, we that's the time that we go out, and that's the time that we intrude into these places in the city that's not our own. Okay. Now sometimes we stand outside to listen to conversations or to TV shows inside. Ego keeps being astonished at its behavior and wondering, why in the hell are we taking such risks? Okay, now what is the risk? The risk is that the ego is in a realm which is not its own. It's not in control here. It's in danger of being discovered, ego consciousness being discovered in this place. And that's the risk, okay? And the risk has to do with this. What was Jung's first discovery in uh, his in the Red Book? I'm not the master in my own house. I am an intruder in my own house. Now here, it's not just one house, it's a city that we're unfamiliar with, and we keep being an intruder in various aspects of different houses. But each one, ego is an intruder there. Now, the idea here is that ego feels very in control when it's not an intruder. When it goes into the unconscious, of which it apparently is not recognizing is its sovereignty. Okay, the aspect of being not the master in your own house. Who's the master here? Not me. I'm in this house. I'm not the master here. There's someone else in control, and the risk to ego is that other that is in control, because at some point, ego is going to learn that it is the creation and the projection of this city we're not familiar with. You know, our purpose is to be the empty vessel for that place. So when we come to that place where we're totally independent out here, thinking we're our own God, and then we go back to the place we came from, we feel like an intruder, and we feel very uncomfortable because we're not in control. Someone else is in control. Now, this is different than being in your house and thinking and saying, now I've heard almost everybody here have this dream. Seriously, I remember one or two where it's particularly Ivan, okay, that he is in a house where he doesn't know if the mortgage has been paid. He doesn't know if he's made the down payment, who's owned it. Did he really close on the house? And he's in this house and he doesn't know who owns it. Well, this is pretty much what's happening here. Okay, so now, so the ego's risk it's taking is it has left the comfortable realm of the conscious attitude and it's moved into the depths. Now, you said, Tim, that this really wasn't related to the anima series, but I think it is. I think it really is a saying, I'm going to try to mix this up a little. You know, you don't seem to be getting the message. So I'm mixing it up a little. You are not in control here. You're not the one who's supposed to be arresting the woman at the river, or you know, that's not your role. You think you're in control. No, the women at the river are in control. You know, you're an intruder here. You think you're not, but you are. So, I mean, this is a dream that is really is telling us that that we need to cede control to this city we're unfamiliar with, and become its empty vessel, and uh, be filled by it. I mean, empty ourselves of our, you know, say any kind of outer world thing. I mean, the whole thing, I think, is, of course, you know, it's hard to listen to me because I'm such an introvert, and I think Roy's going to give another point of view, but which is going to be very helpful, because you know, to me, that my task is to be the empty vessel for the city not familiar with. And how do I do it? I mean, I just have to let go, just let go. And the way I let go is I have Inanna take me down there. And at every gate, 7 gates, we give up something until when we reach the 7th gate, we have nothing. We've given up everything. So then now we meet the dog there. We still haven't met any ego consciousnesses. We're almost walking around like a invisible being, yet the instincts recognize our presence and they lick our hand, and so the instincts are welcoming us to this place. The instincts, this is the realm of nature, the self represents a psychosomatic wholeness. It has to do with the body, it has to do with nature, it has to do with biology, life. It has to do with living beings, And so the instinct, the dog, comes up and licks our hand, and we realize how close we are to raising the whole house. But it's a good sign that the dog likes us. So again, we escape without incident. We escape without ceding control. Okay. I think these places would be fine with us being there if we just announced that we'd like to stay there and not be a secret intruder. And so after leaving one house at dawn, you're walking along the road and the occupants come outside and are talking loudly to the neighbors. Now, we're sure it's about us. Okay, so there's a little bit of paranoia here, but let's say they are. That they're saying that is it necessarily negative? Well, they're talking loudly, and then we try to cut back through a field, but it's very muddy. So it is when we try to flee the unconscious, it tries to slow us down, like it did when I was in that ditch and couldn't roll out of it, and that big limb was going to fall on me. That it's trying to say, don't leave, and it slows us down with mud. Now, I'm just throwing that in there. I don't think that's really necessarily true. And we realize we have to go back by the house again, and you're astonished yourself. So anyway, I think that we are finally in the realm of the crazy women by the river, and we're in her realm now, not in our realm. So we're not taking anybody to the husband's insane asylum. We're in the woman's realm, the realm of nature, which is very feminine. Charles, do you have any comments about it?
Yeah, I definitely think that the end of the dream points towards an inevitable confrontation. And I don't know, I think the idea of you want to go cut through the field, but it's so muddy, that makes me think that it's become so saturated with the unconscious that it is like you can get caught in the little quagmire of this really saturated earth, or you can which it's like being snared or hindered by the unconscious, or you could just turn around and go face the living elements of it. And yeah, but I think it's curious of the kind of conscious attitude of just thinking that it's really risky. It's God, it's, such a risk to do this. And it just makes me think, what does that exactly mean? is it, you know,
Intentionally intruding.
right. But I mean, I don't know. It just makes me wonder if there's something underneath that, like, knows of the shock factor and just the kind of like, I mean, I don't know. It's like how I felt with the ET dreams. It's just like, can't really describe how terrifying it is. But maybe it's trying to be cautious against an experience like that. But yeah, that's all I really have at the moment.
Well, I like the part where you said, it sort of reminded me of the Puer Aeternus, that our psychological substance has become saturated with the unconscious. So our standpoint, the psychological substance, our earth, which is not now too small, but it's saturated with the unconscious. You know, and there was something else you said, and I was going to say something, but I forgot. Roy, it'll come back to me. Roy, what do you think?
Of course, I'm way over here in left field.
Yeah, great.
Okay, what happened to the photo shoot dream? I mean, did we finish that?
Let's see. Not necessarily, no.
Okay, well, I'm tying back into that.
Okay.
Let me ask Tim, when did you have this photo shoot dream? Recently, like a week or so ago?
Couple of weeks, yeah.
Was it during when we were having our correspondence?
I can look it up.
We did emails back and forth for a while there.
Right.
Oh, is that about that video I posted of the muse?
Yes,
or is that,
you started it, Charles. You started it. Yeah, that was you.
So this,
yeah.
This current dream was 2 days ago, and
yeah. Oh, here's the photo shoot dream. I've got the photo shoot dream right here.
That was middle of February. So what, a month ago?
Okay, the photo shoot dream was before the correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we didn't really get into that dream very far, but
yeah.
You know, I think something's happening to Tim. He's turning a corner here, and I looked at the photo shoot dream as that he's about to make a connection with a real woman. You know, he's going into the roots of the tree. You know, you go so far one way and then you start the other way. And this anticipates a real connection with a real woman. That's just my speculation. I can say it's my opinion. And so this dream now is a continuation of that, and it's on a similar theme. It's in some of his other dreams, is the peasants. These are kind of peasants, you know, hoi polloi. And Tim has this new alter ego in him that he's not very acquainted with, just like he's not acquainted with this bridegroom in the photo shoot that's exploring this world. And the mud is not ice and snow. He's usually in ice and snow, but the mud is more connected with the earth, and it's chthonic. And he's exploring this new world that he wasn't interested in for a long time. But he's not very conscious of it. And that's where I'm coming from.
Well, let's kind of
That's
just
great.
look. Yeah.
Say, Roy, are you an extrovert?
No, I'm an introvert as all get out. Very introverted.
We all are, I guess.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my wife says. You know, she was talking about, well, how come there aren't very many people like you? And I said, well, if you look in Myers-Briggs, I think like of males, around like 85% or 75, 80% are extrovert, either thinking or sensates, you know, and the introverts are, both for women and men, are very low, you know, as a
Damn, if it
percentage of
wasn't for the
population.
internet, we wouldn't ever meet. We
No,
wouldn't be talking to each other.
no,
That's right.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is a wonderful thing. Well, let's now, Tim. Why don't you have a few
And
comments?
actually, how many people who are extroverts are really interested in their dream life? I don't know.
Not very many. That's what Robert Johnson used to say when he'd have all these conferences, you know, along with Robert Bly and these people about these men's conferences or whatever, inner work conferences. Everyone there was either an introverted, intuitive, feeling, or thinking person. You know, a few sensates, but it was mostly sensate is a little more realistic. You know, there was a couple extroverted youngins. One was Yolanda Jacobi, and she founded the Young Institute, and the other was James Hillman. James Hillman was an extrovert, and yet he's one extrovert that was really very, and so Yolanda Jacobi wasn't bad either. But anyway, Tim, do you have any comments about this dream? And why don't we quickly then go review the photo shoot and then come back to it?
One thing that I find really curious is this this sort of overwhelming unconsciousness that comes in and out of focus. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced this many times where something really bizarre will happen, and all of a sudden, I think, well, why the hell didn't I realize I was getting myself into this position? It's like the ego is just absolutely numb, and then all of a sudden it comes to life. And I'm curious about that. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
On how the unconscious comes to life so overwhelmingly?
Yeah, it seems like the dream ego is just absolutely stunned that this keeps happening. And my recollection was that going through these houses was, you know, it's happened a dozen or more times. And when I opened the door to go into the house, apparently everything is just totally hunky-dory. And then halfway through the house, I suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm in somebody's house. It's the middle of the night.
This is very, 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 very typical. I even had these dreams, 2 or 3 of them like that, where you're in some place that you're afraid you're going to be discovered. You're maybe staying there without rent. You know, here's another one. You're in a class. You're enrolled in a class, but you haven't studied for it. You don't know where the classroom is. You don't know when the tests are. You don't know what the textbooks are. You don't know where your teacher is. I mean, and you're afraid you're going to be discovered. Okay, so
yeah, I have a number of performance anxiety dreams where there, you know, the curtain is about to go up, and I realize, oh my God, I haven't gone to any rehearsals. That kind of thing.
Well,
and so it's got to be that the dream ego is forcing your attention on that moment of being oblivious. So like there's some kind of responsibility that needs to be taken that has not been acknowledged.
Well, yeah, it's the responsibility to link back, you know, religio, link back to your source. So, do we believe that it is our source, this town that we're not familiar with, or the mysterious absent professor of the course that we're taking, or the owner of the house whom we don't know, the landlord? Do we believe this is our source? Do we believe that we our ontological purpose here is because the creator of life wanted to experience itself in time and space, and so needed to create a vehicle in which it could it could reside in time and space and experience it and manifest itself in the outer world, three-dimensional world of time and space. What Jung says is all of human history is the progressive incarnation of a deity. Okay? So we're not the master in our own house. We're the vehicle of the master, and yet we don't recognize it. We don't acknowledge it. It never strikes the conscious attitude who is so confident. So, okay, here's when it finally finds it out, when it loses all its confidence, when it hits bottom, when it has nothing, when there is, it's lost all hope. And then it's either going to kill itself or it just is going to surrender. My wife just had her 9th anniversary of sobriety, and she posted this song by Eric Clapton and Luciano Pavarotti on Facebook about, I think it's called, something about, I am broken, mother, save me, or something like that. But I mean, it's this idea. Now, so we're not, haven't hit bottom because of addiction. But the problem is, I think, when our conscious attitude hasn't been hurt, and yet is very proud on the outside, and yet our dreams are telling us still, hey, you think you're in charge here? No, you're not in charge here. You are an intruder in our place. You are an usurper. You know what an usurper is? It is a person who has assumed the role of king, but is not the king. They are a commoner, okay? The king, the real king, is not us, So anyway, that's kind of what, Charles and Roy, do you have any, now this is sort of my radical take on it, but what do you think of that aspect of it, is that of the role of ego consciousness generally? Charles, do you have any comments?
No, I don't. Not exactly. I don't think I am in a position to say too much.
Well, I know, and see, this is kind of where I think this is hard to wrap your heads around or accept. Let's say it's very difficult to accept. Roy, now what do you say? You are a person who has a very unusual primordial psyche that's I've never encountered before. What do you think? What's the role of ego?
Well, who in a dream said that the dream ego was an intruder? I mean, the dog licks his hand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the whole thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Whose stranger's house do you go in and the dog licks your hand? I mean, you didn't hand him a hamburger or anything. He just comes up and licks your hand. I mean, who in a dream accuses the dream ego of being an intruder?
The ego accuses itself.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. What's really happening here is he is welcome. He is loved. He is welcome. And he doesn't want to accept the hospitality. He can't believe the hospitality. He can't believe that could be possible. But I'm telling you, it is. It's happening.
Well, this is really the point of the Hounds of Heaven dream. Is that if you, the thing that you are fleeing from, if you just turn around and face it, and in other words, you're welcome here. The instincts, the dog, which should is if it's a good watchdog, it's not going to lick your hand because you're an intruder here, you know. But so who thinks we're an intruder? The ego thinks we're an intruder, but the house doesn't think this. It never ever acts upon that. You know, the dog doesn't think that. You know, the only one who thinks it is the ego because it doesn't understand its role. Now, the thing about this, though, is that is so difficult is I just don't find too many people that really accept that, you know, who have gotten to the point that they can actually, okay, say live that way. You know, they always say live your dream, you know, try to enact it and live it in the problem, I think, in the modern world, and you know, particularly, I think, you know, you were telling us, Charles, can you tell us what I forget his name. Who is it you're working with?
Stuart?
Stuart, yeah. I don't know why I forget his name. What is Stuart telling you about the American psyche? You know, I mean, how weird it is. You know.
Oh yeah.
So enamored of the conscious attitude. You know.
Yeah. I mean, he just kind of, you know, very brilliantly highlights the sort of, you know, the violence and the materialistic nature and the just all the different, just blatant, just psychological problems, and just how the strange priorities, that people seem to have, and that everything is, it's almost like not only like psychic life is sort of ignored, but just like even the general outer existence is, you know, just a game of productivity and just, I mean, I don't know, because I have my own views on things, but I was just telling him, like, you know, of some of the things that I think and feel regularly, and he was just like, yeah, that's just a product of the society. It just, you know, it's just so sick. And yeah, obviously certain areas of the United States are better than others, but yeah, I think just the priorities are just so unnatural.
It really is a very patriarchal place, you know, where my father comes from. There's a friend that we have there whose mother lived right near where my grandfather lived here in Iowa. And he moved back to Norway when he was around 18. And I first saw him there when he was around 60. So he'd spent like 42 years in Norway, and an American citizen who's living there, taught school, taught the 6th grade. And his mother tells me, I can't even understand a word he says. And because he got such a thick Norwegian accent. And I was talking, his name was Sten Valens, and he says, I will never go back to America. He says, I went back a couple times, and he says, my heart, I almost have a heart attack. It's just so, everybody's just so, you know, stressed, and they're all hurrying to do things all the time, you know, and there's always deadlines and things got to get done. And he says, look around here. You know, it's amazing. You go out, it's kind of like a college town. You don't see anybody, you know. I mean, there's no traffic, very little traffic, you know, and on Sundays, everybody just goes out for a hike. I had my dad's cousin there would go on, you know, like 15-mile hikes, you know, on one day. And, you know, I think one day he went on a 30-mile hike. But anyway, I'm just saying this is the point of it is that the dream ego at some point needs to realize, you know, okay, here's what Gerhard Dorn said, you know, the student of Paracelsus. It's more important to know what you are than who you are. Okay, so what are you? Now, are you going to identify with ego, with who you are? Or are you going to identify with your ontological purpose? Your purpose, your meaning, not your ego. So do we identify with our purpose and our meaning? Or do we identify with the ego, who we are? Or do we identify with what we are, which is the empty vessel for our mother, for the creator of life, which wants to experience itself in time and space? Well, how does it do that? Through the dialogue between this wonderful vessel it created. How did it needed a vessel that knew it was there and could look back at nature and say, this is me, that's nature. So this is the third point. So now this third point is what the creator of DNA and all life can now occupy if ego will make enough room for it by becoming its vessel. But if ego crowds it out with its harsh light of ego consciousness and won't let any of this mother light into it, the realm of images, it's sick. It's not realizing it's what, it's quid, it's meaning. You know, it's just says, all I'm concerned about is with who I am, not what I am. So, I mean, they don't, the purpose and the meaning of existence escapes us. All things betray thee who betrayest me, you know, is what the Francis Thompson says in that Hounds of Heaven thing. Who are we betraying here? You know, we're betraying our, the one who created our bodies. You know, that's what I always ask the unconscious. Can you give me some sort of a little bit more proof that you're really there? And she says, where do you think your body came from? Do you need more proof than that? Did the ego create that? You know? But anyway, I would say that this dream, why I really liked it, Tim, was because it is kind of an interlude in the classical music piece that we've been listening to. And it is giving us a little bit different take on it. You know, okay, we've been sending you all these messages of that you're abusing the feminine within you. You know, your conscious attitude is trying to mold the feminine, and that's not what we want. And so then it's finally here telling us, and this is a dream I think we all have every about sixth or seventh dream. It's saying, wait a second, now here, look at this. You are not the master here. You're now, Roy, you said it better. Ego thinks it's an intruder here, but it's very welcome here But the problem is it doesn't know any of the characters here because it has not opened up to that realm enough.
Mhm.
Now, the dog, at least the dog, the instinctual world is open to us, you know, a little bit. So Roy, do
A
you have
really
any
good thing. That's
Yeah.
a really good thing when the
Right.
instincts open to you.
The instincts are always close to us. When the instincts are near, the archetypes are near. That's what Jung said. When the animals are near, the archetypes, the primal forms are near, because that's where they came from. You know, the instincts are the infrared side of the archetypes, and meaning is the ultraviolet side of that spectrum. But they're the same spectrum. You know, one went way over to the biological side, and this one goes over to the side of meaning and purpose, ontological reason for being here. You know, so I mean that's that. What do you think, Tim? Have you ever? Do you have some idea of ontological? Why am I here? You know, not. I mean, really, why are you yourself? What is your purpose in your 80 years and 10?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of our conversation is sort of following my trajectory. What Charles is talking about, this culture that is so fixated on materialist ideals and sort of productivity, is something I've riled against my whole life. And, you know, as an artist, I had this pretty successful career that really depended on mostly the activity of my manager in order to interface with the world. And when I'm left to my own devices, I become this very monk-like character that I isolate myself from the world, precisely because these values just don't make any sense to me. The sort of quintessential American values, and cognitively, I'm trying to open myself up to what we're talking about here, becoming a vessel for the divine. And I really like this line. One of you guys said that this dream points to a confrontation. And it really feels to me like that's what's going on here. There's about to be some kind of confrontation. And I wish I could just tell my ego to do a certain thing, but it's going to have to it's going to stumble on its own way into that kind of realization. And I think that confrontation is coming.
On the photo shoot dream, I mean, Roy, did you have any summary of the photo shoot dream that you wanted to
Well, yeah,
tell?
I was saying it. I really believe it anticipates an encounter and confrontation with a real human being, female. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Well, the one thing that is interesting in here is that the bridegroom accuses the dream ego and the studio woman of trying to arrange a uniting of the feminine and the masculine. And what do we think its opinion is? The model's boyfriend is in an ante room and asks if he took the photos, but he says no, they were done by the girl's teacher. These are the ones that were hanging in the portico. I noticed the style has some character, yet it's undeveloped. So it is it's sort of a prima materia of whatever needs to come afterwards, as an anticipation, as Roy says. And then as we go in, he says, are you guys trying to lobby us, the feminine and the masculine, to unite? And as he looks at and then we're not sure what he was looking at. And then the dream ego says, I say, well, that's an expectation, but it's up to you. So in other words, it is an expectation. It's not sure it's going to happen. But I don't remember, Tim, and you can remind me of a successful union between the masculine and the feminine. One that's not related to, I mean, there's been some, well, no, that was one of Dawn's dreams. But do you remember a dream that was, had a pleasing connection with the feminine and the masculine? I don't know.
Not off the top of my head, but
well, here is.
I have had such dreams.
You maybe you have it in the past.
Yeah.
But anyway, in this dream, the studio woman and the dream ego are getting together, and they are seemingly setting a stage for not really a photo shoot. It's called a photo shoot, but they're setting the stage is for the union of the feminine and masculine principle, and it's all it's sort of symbolized by the decorations in the portico and in the anteroom. This isn't a photo shoot. This is a venue for the uniting of the feminine and the masculine principles, and it's announced. It has this first name, but it is not. And so the whole idea is, how do we create the venue for the friendly uniting of the feminine and masculine principle? And in this dream, the dream about entering without breaking, what are the feminine and masculine principles? The masculine principle would be the dream ego. The feminine principle would be the town we're not familiar with. Okay. The unconscious is feminine. It's the town we're not familiar with. Now, what we appear to be is there's a strange relationship here where we don't feel, we feel it's friendly to us, and the dog is licking our hands. But what Roy is saying is it is secretly, like the studio woman in you, is creating the venue for the union of the feminine and masculine principle. But the problem is the dream ego doesn't get it, doesn't recognize it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got the feeling going through these houses that it was much like what I do in the studio. If I go to the bathroom or something, if I'm walking around the building in the middle of the night, all the lights are off and I feel comfortable because I know where everything is. And that's exactly what this felt like. I go open the door's open. I walk through. I seem to know where I'm going, or at least I'm able to negotiate from one end of the house to the other. It's just as if I'm in my own house. So what I'm thinking here is the feminine is maybe the vessel of the house. And I'm entering the vessel and not realizing that this is where the union happens.
Yeah, we belong. Now, Roy, why don't you seem like you're bursting there. Could you say what you're thinking?
Well, if the house is a home, then it is a vessel. But it's really the living things in the house that make it a home. The people that care about it and do the little things that make it a home. That they have a pet, they might have children, they decorate it, that it's their sanctuary, it's their temenos. And that's what makes it a home, and that's what makes it a living vessel. And you're welcome to explore that, Tim. You've been welcome to explore that. It's a very beautiful thing. I don't think you get it yet and how sacred it is. That's happening, but that's what I see.
I think we're in the house of four women here. I mean, we're in the city of the four women. but we haven't gotten an invitation, you know, like we did before. And so now is the dream ego going to, what should the dream ego do here, either Charles or Roy, to say, become not an intruder here, but a inhabitant of it, rather than just sneaking around in it? What does it need to do, I guess, you know? Do you have any just thoughts about that?
Just come down from the friggin' mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. And can you describe that a little in maybe just a few different, walk around that thought a little bit. Say it again in a different
Okay.
With a different analogy.
You know, he has the iceberg, you know, he can't explain himself. His art is a bit abstract and he doesn't want to explain it. And he's in a place that he's created and he's kind of stuck there. And he's getting an invitation and he's welcome to have another place, a different place to explore, very different world. And he's very uncertain. He doesn't know how to do it. He's very uncertain, you know, because he's been in the place that he's been for so long. So it's a difficult transition, but they're making it easy for him as possible.
And then this attitude comes up again. Remember when there was like two dreams, one of the midnight rehearsal and the other one of the House of Four Women, where the last thought of the dream ego when it's barred from entrance is, I should have thought of this. I should have seen this coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Now what does it say here? It says I'm astonished at myself for doing all this stuff. But now in this case, we're not astonished that we didn't foresee the fact that there was a feminine aspect that was to say, you are not allowed here, you are barred. Well, now she's not barring us, but she's letting us come without an invitation. Okay. So now this time you are in the House of Four Women, but they didn't invite you there. Or you're at the midnight rehearsal, but you weren't invited here. So, but you're here. And at this point, it isn't we aren't astonished that we didn't see the fact that we weren't welcome here coming. In this case, we are astonished that we are welcome here.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, we can't believe that we can walk around here apparently safely. I mean, the only bad part about it is the loud talking, people talking loudly out or to their neighbors. The dream ego is sure about that it's about us, but it doesn't say whether it's bad or good. It just says it might, let's say it is about us. It doesn't say it's bad or good. You know, maybe they're saying, hey, Tim is here. Right. You know, yay.
What's with him? How come he didn't come in? How come he didn't announce himself?
Yeah, and remember, it's a friendly place. That's what the dream says at the beginning. That is a very friendly place. It's unknown to ego. It's not our city, but it's a very friendly place. So I can't imagine that the loud talking neighbors are not being friendly as well. I mean, that was this is the friendly place. If you have that word at the first place, which must be very friendly, this is the friendly place. It's got a friendly dog. There's no one threatening us. The only one who's threatening us is our own sense of guilt. You know, because we are not making the connection with this world. We're just sneaking around in it, you know, and listening into conversations and things. We're not participating in it. We're not joining it. you know. So I mean, that's the real sense of unease, you know, I think. But now I just am saying that this is, if we take this dream with the realm of the four women, with the realm of the midnight rehearsal, and also I would throw in the crazy woman dream, and that we're actually at the place we were barred from. We've been allowed into it now. But there, where's the woman? There's the women are the friendly unknown city, you know. So now, Tim, you said it was a very disturbing dream. Could you just describe your feeling of angst, or what? It's just the fact that you were intruding, and there was a great sense of that you were going to be discovered, arrested, and put in jail, something like that.
Well, as this is developing, I'm realizing that you're right. The guilt is the only threat there is present. And so what's disturbing is this sense that even though I don't believe I'm doing anything wrong, there's this overwhelming sense of guilt that if anybody finds out who I really am, then there's going to be trouble to pay. Like at the rehearsal, if anybody finds out I don't know my lines, I'm going to be exposed as a fraud.
Yeah, I mean, see, yeah, that's coming up over and over again, and it really, I think, is the way. Well, go ahead, Tim. Were you going to say one more thing?
Well,
I
it also
stepped on your line.
It also makes me think about the end of this dream with Elisa coming to the
Oh, that was
the
a
dormitory
beautiful
room.
dream. It was such a beautiful dream, and she's going to see what's his, what do you call him? The she was
The rector.
the rector. So
Yeah.
he's the spiritus rector. Now you said you weren't familiar with that word rector. It's a word from alchemy, and it's the guide of souls. You know, she's going to see the guide of souls. That was a beautiful dream, and I remember Alicia is very much like either Helen of Troy or Beatrice,
Right.
or something like that. She is a divine goddess, very close to a divine goddess, and she's going to see the guide of
Right.
souls.
And at the end of that one, she's leading me, or she's going up the stairs, and I just refuse to follow.
Yeah, I mean,
so it makes sense that it kind of feels like the same thing. Here's this invitation to follow and to declare myself. And instead I say, well, I'm just not worthy, so I'm going to go back.
I think the whole thing, and it's not just you, Tim, it's everybody, is we just are too enamored of consciousness, of the conscious attitude, that we think that's where meaning resides.
Yeah.
Doesn't reside. Meaning has to do with nature, with psychosomatic ground, not with this rat-a-tat-tat of just there. You are not going to find any statements like what Charles, what was the end of your dream? What did God say?
He asked me if I was ready for my new form.
Yeah, you're not going to hear any of that from this rat-a-tat-tat of ego. It's just one after another, living imprisoned, and especially imprisoned in the adult world, you know, far from nature. The aspect of our humanity that's closest to nature is the divine child in us, the growing thing. See, the adult world is not the growing thing. It's the senex world that is stuck and is never going to grow anytime, anywhere. You know, so the idea, and it's not just you, Tim, it's me, it's Charles, it's Roy, Dawn, and all of us. We're just too, you know, we can be. Okay. I think I've actually pray to release me of this, of this. You know, like I'll be going into active imagination, and I feel my conscious attitude saying, Craig, what are you doing here? This is ridiculous. And then I'm going like this. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Can you tell me why he's wrong? You know, tell me, please. You know, and then they say, did he create our bodies? Did he create your body? Did he create the human race? Did he create your ego consciousness? Did he create your eyes and your ears? And no, he didn't. You know. So is it more important knowing who you are or what you are? You know, and who are you in service to? Are you in service to that doubting person who's telling you this thing you're doing is ridiculous? Or are you in service to me, the one who created your body, the mother, the realm, the city that is unknown to ego, the friendly place with the dog that licks our hand? You know, that's who we need to be in service to. But instead, we're in service to this guy over here who's telling us this is a waste of time. Come back into the adult world, into the prison of the adult world. That's where everyone can be reasonable, and we can, you know, not be so emotional. You know. But anyway, why don't we? Does anybody? Let's hear some concluding comments, and then Charles just put a. By the way, Tim, these dreams series, I'm thinking, are all hanging together. That's my theory. But Charles, do you have any concluding thoughts?
Not really. I mean, you know, I've had dreams where I'm like in some area I don't belong and I'm not supposed to be in there. But for a while, it was like I would like sneak in somewhere and I wouldn't have to like damage anything or break anything to enter. And people would like find me and stuff, and I would just say, oh, well, you know, I'm not committing any crimes. Don't worry, I'll leave. I never break anything or steal anything when I'm in places like this. And I've had confrontations, but I always try to just convince them that I'm not harming anything. I just think that's kind of a weird contrast. And I wanted to say more stuff on, you know, the United States and how you know, I'll just say, I found out one thing recently, which is, or kind of realized, the way we treat drug addiction in this country is absolutely horrible.
Ugh.
It's horrible. I mean, it's like, oh, you're addicted to something, $5,000, please. You know, it's like it just doesn't work. I mean, but yeah, I'm excited.
Not very humane.
Right. But I think Tim's dreams, this kind of whole sequence is tied together, and yeah, it's developing quite a bit.
How about you, Roy? And Dawn, just you know, if anything comes up in your head, you know, you're the one feminine presence here we have, and you're going to give us a side we didn't have before. And by the way, you owe us a dream here pretty quick. But Roy, what do you think as a conclusion?
The anima. I mean, we take her up into the limbs of the tree and the top of the tree and up in the air, and she's so beautiful, and we're so hypnotized. But when you take her back down into the roots and you connect with the real flesh and blood and the psyche, and everything's all mixed up and it's connected to the earth. Oh man, you know, you have to do both. You have to do both to get the juices running. I mean, to get the juice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mystical transformation and the act of of earthly libidinal connection are the same thing. What do you think, Tim? Do you have any concluding thoughts on just you? This is, what do you think? I mean, as far as right now, do you feel some orientation or some disorientation?
Well, this one in particular was really mystifying to me, this last one. And our conversation here has really solidified it for me. And it feels to me like it is a kind of culmination of this series.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just so appreciative of you guys and your brilliance.
Well, I just say, when I first read
It's
that
been
dream,
really helpful.
I was very excited, because I said, this is where I live. This is where I live. And I knew that this is where the self lives. I'm not too familiar with it, but I know that when I'm here, where I don't know the owner, where the owner is, that this is a pretty important place. So anyway,
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's been really terrific.
Okay, great. Well, keep them coming. Well, why don't we, Charles? Why don't you read your dream? And what was it? Was it the one that starts in "I'm in a suburban neighborhood"?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
This was April 2020. So okay, almost a year ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I was in a suburban neighborhood during the daytime, and my father's there in a parked car, and he is listening to something that he wanted me to pay attention to. It was sort of like talk radio, and he's just parked in a driveway of this house. I don't know if it's his house or anything, but a man spoke over the car speakers and said, "A person's most valuable quality is inherited through their father." And then just then I realized I'm 12 minutes late for therapy, and I told my father I had to go. I ran down the street towards a house, but had to turn towards the house where my therapy was, but had to turn around because I remember I left my keys in the grass of a yard nearby. So I thought to myself that if I left my keys out, then someone could get into my car. And when I was running to get my keys, an SUV with two older people were driving towards me, and they didn't see me and nearly grazed me with their car. The next car was being driven by a young woman, and she asked if I was all right and if I needed a ride. I said, "No, I'm fine." But after grabbing my keys, I asked if she was going in the direction I had just come from, and that's where I needed to go for therapy. She said yes, and so I accepted a ride from her. But as soon as I went to get in, I noticed there was no room. In the front, there was a child already sitting, and in the back, there were two black baby carriers, but I couldn't see any children in them. So I just decided to run down the street, and I was sprinting furiously. I really did not want to be late for therapy. The girl was driving next to me, and she remarked at how fast I was because I was nearly outrunning her in her car. And I reached the house only to realize my computer was not set up. I was going to have therapy over Zoom. And I scrambled to get it together, and I attempted to call her, Emily, but I could not navigate my phone. And I was kind of in a total panic. Then everything was just not working. And then I noticed Emily just happened to just walk around a corner from an adjacent room in the house, and she went downstairs. She was upset and possibly crying and being consoled by a large young man. I think his brother is there too, though. There's another man, if I remember correctly. And I approached them, and the young man made a sort of threatening gesture towards Emily. So I prepared to attack him, but he was not serious, it seemed, by his reaction to me. I told him, I guess I just take those things too seriously.
Yeah, you are, you and your karate moves and things are pretty intense. Well, this is one that we can get started on, but you know, and it's a long dream like this, and it seems a little daunting. I always just find it's just break it up into little pieces and just take each piece one at a time, and then pull it all together. Roy, do you have any initial thoughts about it, or are you still wrapping your head around it? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I have to wait in the bushes a while.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, this
Well,
train
well,
went
let
by
me,
too fast. So I got to wait around in it
well,
a
I
little
know.
bit, and I'll
Let's
come up
take
with
it.
something.
All right, well, let's just start. How about Tim, you have any initial thoughts or not? Or we'll just go through it.
Yeah, let's just go through it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we were in a suburban neighborhood during daytime with the father, who's there in a parked car, and we're listening to something that he wanted me to pay attention to. And there was a man who spoke on the car speakers that said, a person's most valuable quality is inherited through their father. Okay. So the father in us, and I would say, now, do you have any notion, was this a general father or was it your actual real biological?
It was my actual father.
Okay, all right. And he's wanting us to listen, not to him, but to a more authoritative voice. And the more authoritative voice is saying that your most valuable quality is inherited through your father. Okay. Now let's just assume for a second that that's true, or assume for a second that the father is trying to propagandize you. I mean, it could either be a true statement or it could be that the father is trying to propagandize us or something, and maybe is holding us prisoner or something, and doesn't and thinks we should be an ally of him, and that this really isn't such a great statement. Okay. But then we realize we're 12 minutes late for therapy, and we tell our father we have to go. So he just told us that the most important thing that we have is inherited from him, and we tell him, sorry, even though it is the most important thing that we have is inherited from you, I am late for therapy. Okay. Now this is going to keep coming up. I'm late for therapy. I'm late for therapy. We never actually get to therapy, but we're late, you know. So we're running down the street, but had to turn around because we remember we left our keys in the grass of a yard nearby. Now, this is going to be about 4 or 5 incidents like this in this dream, maybe 4. Okay. We're 12 minutes late for therapy. What does 12 mean? 12 means time. Okay. 12 is 12 months, 12 hours, 12 zodiac symbols, 12 months, I mean, it's 12 means time. It's very interesting that Jesus had 12 disciples. Okay. He was aligning himself with time. Okay. That's a mythological number. So we're 12 minutes late for therapy, and we tell the father, the patriarchal world, that we have to go. So actually, when we're going to therapy, that means therapy means to stir things up from below. So the therapy has more to do with the mother realms. So we're running away from the father realm back to the mother realm, but then we realized that we left the keys to our car in the grass of a yard nearby. So we're not going to be able to use our car. Is that correct? We're just going to have to run, right? Is that right?
Yes,
okay, so
yes.
yeah, we thought to ourselves that we left the keys, that someone would come and get the car, but you're running to get the keys for the SUV with 2 old people were driving towards me. They didn't see me and they nearly grazed me with their car. Okay, that's car number 1. This whole car trouble is very interesting. The next car was being driven by a young woman. She asked me if I was all right and if I needed a ride. I said, no, I'm fine. But then after grabbing my keys, I asked if she was going in the direction I was just come from. And she said, and we say that's where we need to go through therapy. So now, let's see. But after grabbing my keys, I asked, okay, because you have to run back to the car. So you thought you might be able to get there quicker if she drove you. Is that right? Even though you found the keys. So,
well, it didn't seem that my car was anywhere to be found.
Right. If you have the keys, so what? You can't find the car.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay. So now, now we're going to ride in the feminine vehicle. A compassionate feminine woman as well. She's unprompted is offering us help. Okay. And so now she's going to drive us to therapy, the place to the place of the unconscious. Okay. Let's just say that. Stirring up from below. So we say, she said yes. So you accepted the ride from her. But as soon as you get in, you notice there was no room. In the front, there was a child. In the back, there were 2 black baby carriers, but I couldn't see any children in them. I decided to just run down the street. Okay. So the feminine is willing to give us a ride, but there's no room in her vehicle. So as far as the ego can see, so it knows that it really that is not going to get it where it needs to go. At least we don't know what that means yet, but I'm thinking it's important. Okay. So now we just have to run. So we don't want to be late for therapy. And the girl is driving next to me, and she remarked how fast I was, because I could was nearly outrunning her in the car. So we're almost doing this puer magical thing that Roy does, and that I do too, we're running as fast as a car. So, I mean, there's an aspect that of the dream ego that is almost miraculous when it comes to moving. So now we reached the house only to realize, your house. So it was going to be a teleconference?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you scrambled to get the computer wasn't set up. You scrambled to get it together, and you attempted to call Emily on the phone because you haven't got your computer set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you notice Emily was walking around a corner from an adjacent room. Emily's your therapist, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay, so now she's in the same house as you are.
Yeah, she just appears all of a sudden.
Okay. Wow, this is really interesting. Okay. So we were going to call Emily on our phone. Where would she normally be?
At her home.
How far away is
the
that?
Office. Not that far. She actually lived right by where I used to work.
Okay, so like, is it just a few blocks?
No, it was like 20 minutes away.
20 minutes away. Okay, well, that's by car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in St. Louis, it's not too far, but if you lived in, say some small town, that's the next town. Okay?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we are scrambling to talk to the feminine who's far away, and suddenly we find that she's in our house, but she's in an interesting state of affairs. We notice her walking around a corner from an adjacent room in the house, and she went into the descent. She went downstairs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, is your room upstairs, or is she going in the basement?
Yeah, it seemed like it was an upstairs room. It wasn't in like my actual house. It was in,
You're on the second story, though.
Yeah.
At least. Okay. And she's going downstairs. So now Emily,
mm-hmm.
is upset and possibly crying, and she's being consoled by a large young man. So now the therapist, the one who we were just desperate to get home, we didn't want to be late to see her. We're not set up to talk with her in any way, shape, or form. But then we find the one that we might be late to has been there with us all the time, and yet this another spiritus rector, another guide of souls, is herself in a sorry state, okay? And she's being consoled by the large young man, okay? Now, the large young man would be, could be any figure, could be the shadow, could be the divine child, could be might even be the self, but she's being consoled by him. Now the dream ego approaches this couple. Now the young man makes a threatening gesture towards Emily. And so we were prepared to defend her, the guide of souls. So did he go like this, or, or just,
Yeah.
did he look like he was going to hit her, or
Raised his hand.
he raised his hand towards her to try to console her? He was going to hit her to knock some sense into her, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But anyway, the ego is not going to put up with this large young man attacking this person he ran all the way across from town to help him. What would the therapist do for you?
What do you mean?
Okay, why were you so insistent on not being late for therapy?
Oh, because
What does she do?
I don't really think it's a matter of that. I think it's just that's who my anima was projected on at the time.
Okay, all right. So you really weren't interested in the therapy. You were kind of in love with her. You had a transference on her. Well, great. I mean, yeah, that was the dream where she married the airline pilot. And,
right.
Yeah. So actually, it is our one chance a week to interface with a intelligent person, a feminine person. So even though maybe she doesn't, we're worshiping her from afar, it still is a sense of delight. It's moving. I mean, it's something that is very important to us, So it's very important to the ego. It's actually this moment to interface with the feminine, and it's beautiful, really. And it's this therapist
highly valued 45 minutes of each week.
Yes, very highly valued. Okay, and now she though needs therapy herself. Apparently, she needs consolation. So we've reached her at a weak moment, and the weak moment is in our house. And so as we prepared to attack him, we see he wasn't serious. It seemed by his reaction to us coming to attack us. In other words, he just kind of looks at us like, I'm just kidding or something. I told him that the dream ego tells him that it takes things just too seriously. So can you kind of just describe what the dream ego thought and what the large young man was thinking about this supposed attack?
Well, I mean, I'll try to describe it my best. She goes over to him and is kind of like, kind of leaning on him, and he's kind of holding her with one arm, and, she is seeking consolence in him, and he kind of just like raises his hand as if he's going to hit her, and I'm just like, like ready to lunge at him, and he just kind of gives me this look like what, really? Like I wasn't being serious. Like,
yeah,
like take it easy, man.
All right. Well, this is important, and we don't know why yet, but we know that every one of these events are important, and we'll get to them probably, well, it'd be next time. But why don't we, Tim, just give some initial thoughts on it. I mean, do you want me to summarize it first, or?
One of the things that struck me, and you had just been talking about the Senex, and it seems like maybe the older couple represents a traditional attitude that doesn't really have any room for growth.
Mhm.
Where if you're not paying attention, it can just blow you over.
Yeah.
And the young woman in the car is maybe a feminine invitation that just does not have much possibility. And I don't know if it has to do with motherhood or with some kind of feminine possibility that is just so full already that there's no room to.
Child and 2 baby carriages.
Yeah.
You can't get in. But just
So,
keep going. I'm just going, but that was a good point you're making.
And then Emily presents the invitation that has possibilities, because she's going down into the area where real life happens, it seems to me, or at least she's going down into a place where she can relate to you. And then this other masculine character is either preventing that, or it's at least preventing you from making that descent with her. That's where I am with it. We're almost out of time here, so.
Yeah, well, Roy, why don't you get it? And there is a ton of stuff in here, and I know it's all important, but I'm not sure why. Go ahead, Roy.
Okay, just a fast swoop by the shoe bill. He's not ready yet to explore the father world. He has an opportunity. So, of course, he forgets his keys. Then he gets his keys, he doesn't have his car. And then he's in the feminine world. And at the end, he has his transference on Emily, but it's what he really needs is the experience. It's the experience of being a young man in love, and the instinctual things that happen. Like, I remember my first romance, I liked this girl on the street, but another boy did too. And we got in a big fight, a real fight. I kind of won. I was a year older than him. And, it's kind of an embarrassing thing, 2 kids fighting on the street over this girl and all this stuff. It's just craziness. But that's what you have to go through. I mean, you just, the first step is a tiny step. It's awkward. He's trying, but, he has to have the experience. He's trying to have the experience. He can't listen to the advice in his father's world. He doesn't want advice. Apparently, he doesn't even know that he wants the experience. But what he's actually doing is getting the experience. So it's a process of experience. That's how I see it.
Well, it is, there is a lot in here, and I know it's going to be very important. And we're going to have to go through it, but we'll go through it next time. And I thank you very much, Tim, for a dream that is very enlightening, seriously, along with the photo shoot dream, both of those dreams.
Well, thanks to you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, I learned so much. And Dawn, we love you, and hope you are going to send us a dream soon. Everything going good, Dawn? Just say, well, anyway, we'll see you all next time, and we'll just keep going on Charles' dream. So, Dawn, if you can send a dream, or Roy will work on that. Maybe Gary will have one too. Okay. All right. Let me see. Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you for letting me sit here and saying nothing. Sorry. Okay. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Roy and Dawn and Charles. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.